I've mentioned in past videos that my background outside of sports cards is as a teacher, but if I was to go deeper into it than that, I would actually say my background is more directly about education within a community development, service learning, and youth empowerment kind of context. I've worked both in schools and in community organizations, focusing on working with teachers and youth in a process of contributing to positive social changes in their local communities. I've been a part of teams focused on building curriculum related to community development, to collaboration skills, to understanding the influence of different social forces on society, and to helping create a space for young people to gain experiences and learning within action-oriented contexts of service in their communities. A lot of how I view the world around me and view my own bigger goals in life is in relation to the building and strengthening of community. And the sports card community is one of those social spaces that I feel most connected into. In this video, I want to go into what I see as the state of the sports card community and why I feel so optimistic about the future of it. Before we get started into this, I first want to give a shout out to the Sports Card Collector for inspiring this video. Do pay attention to the spelling there if you're looking to find him. I'll put a link to his YouTube and Instagram in the description box below. I had never heard of him before, but a few weeks back, I randomly and unexpectedly ran into two different interviews he had given, one on the Wax Pack Hero podcast by Mike Summer, and one by Peter Pacman on the Rip Pack and Slab YouTube channel. In one of those interviews, he was describing some of the ways in which he views the sports card community, and I was just loving what he had to say. And it inspired me to think more about some of my own thoughts than I had ever really thought about, kind of like a tip of the iceberg kind of level, maybe as far as I had gone before. So thanks to him for inspiring this video. Now, I think it's difficult to deny that we live in a society that can be extremely divisive. It's not that this divisiveness is a new thing. I mean, legal racial segregation in the US was around like half a second ago in historical context, during the lifetime of my parents and many millions of people who are still alive and well today, many of them not even old enough to have reached retirement age yet. So divisiveness is really nothing new. And just as a side note here, I have heard people express opinions about how they think we live in an unprecedented divisive time, and that kind of always makes me have a weird facial expression, but wasn't state-sponsored legal segregation like a generation ago? As divisive as things are now, that seems like a more deeply divided kind of divisiveness. And even going back through history, divisiveness, whether it be racial, national, political, or whatever, has always been pretty much an ongoing theme throughout US history. I mean, even when a second political party was formed as an alternative to the Federalist Party, it was simply just called the Anti-Federalist Party, not like we're pro this and pro that, but more like we're just anti whatever they're about. Divisiveness is seeped into the history of America in a bazillion ways. And in modern days, it's easy to see that divisiveness in action again and again, whether it be in relation to political opinions or something as simple as a LeBron versus Jordan GOAT debate. We seem to love to demonize whoever sees things differently than us. I don't think these divisive tendencies are part of our underlying human nature, though. I think it's part of our societal upbringing. It's not something that is seen universally in every culture, but it certainly does seem to be a pretty deeply embedded part of our culture. And while the world of sports cards is certainly not completely devoid of division, I think there is something unique in the sports card community that is hard to find in a society that very often structures itself around lines of division, around us and them kinds of thinking. The community of sports card hobbyists is a cross-section of many different demographics. You have older collectors who've been involved for decades. You have young collectors who are just getting into it. You have people of all different races. You have people with all sorts of different political beliefs, different religions, different nationalities, different outlooks on life. But there is one thing that still links everyone together in this community: a love for sports cards. It seems to me that there are very few contexts in modern US society in which people from diverse backgrounds, who have diverse political thoughts, who have diverse belief systems, etc., can all come together and connect with each other about something that everyone loves and appreciates. I think that can be a powerful thing. I mean, it may seem weird at first, something as shallow as a piece of cardboard being a catalyst for connection, a catalyst for community building, but I think it is something that people in the hobby genuinely want to connect with others about, and where they can learn to connect with people that they may not interact with in other contexts of life. I mean, really, though legal segregation, for example, may no longer exist, if you look at things like the percentage of different racial groups attending different schools in the same city, it's clear that racial segregation is still a big thing, despite it not being a legal requirement for a few decades now. People who share similar political views also seem to magnetically move closer to people who share similar views. making the country become more and more geographically, politically segregated. You've got right-wing and left-wing colleges even, where 95% of the student body leans one way or the other politically. And all this results in, for many people, a reality where the people they interact with in their day-to-day lives all live and think in the same bubbles and have the same underlying assumptions as each other. But the sports card community is a cross-section of everyone. It's a community where people have something that unites them. And when people have something that connects them and unites them like this, I think it has the potential to become an important space for learning, for growing, and for appreciating diversity. There was a time before social media when I was an idealistic youngin' where I personally thought something like social media, like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, could have a kind of unifying capacity, like a worldwide pen pal network of kumbayas and virtual hugs. Of course, it's laughable to think about it that way now. In social media spaces, there is no real, actual human-to-human connection, or at least that's rare. It's become a space where many people demonize the other worse than anywhere else, where people unleash the worst of who they are. They can hide behind a cyber wall and toss bombs off at the faceless, nameless, soulless outlines or caricatures of people that they assume fit into whatever box they've created in their own mind. But when people are together in the same room with others, it's very often a different reality. When people come together, they check themselves. They're more likely to look for the connection points with people. People that they see as actual people and not just caricatures of their own internal prejudices. And beyond that, when people come together in a context where there's something underlying the interaction that touches on something important to them, it's much more likely, much more natural for them to cage the worst of who they are and to actually be able to make a meaningful connection with that person who in most other contexts of life, they wouldn't have made that connection with. And when people can have those kinds of healthy interactions with a diverse range of people on a regular basis, it can begin to change awareness. It can spark a shift in conscious thinking. This is why I think there's so much potential in the sports card community. It's a community that exists on person-to-person interaction. It's a community that has an underlying thing that everyone can connect to each other through. And as simple as that really is, it is something that is not all that commonplace in the society we currently live. That's it for this video. Peace.